Today I'd like to review the expense reporting process, the process in which you submit an expense report to Action Pack Holdings for reimbursement. To open an expense report, you go to the Expense Reporting Center. Then click on the Receipt Claim Center. In the Receipt Claim Center, there is a link to create an expense report for reimbursement. Click on that. It'll bring you to a screen where you can open a new expense report. As an employee, you can only have one pending expense report open at a time. So if there's an expense report that's being worked on, it's in process, this system, when you click on New Expense Report, will notify you of that, letting you know that there is a pending expense report, and ask you to please submit your pending expense report before creating a new one, and gives you the option to proceed on. Here on the screen we have a pending expense report. This screen is broken up into two sections. The top section is your expense report. This is where you're selecting or you're listing receipts and mileage logs that you would like to receive reimbursement from. In this particular case, we have 2 receipts and 2 mileage logs. To view a receipt, you simply click on View. It'll bring up the receipt that's associated with that particular line item. The same goes for a mileage log. You can see here the dates of the receipts, the expense categories associated with the receipts and mileage logs. Up at the top, we have a unique identifier for the expense report, the date of the expense report, which can be changed, the employee, and then a section here for the approver. This expense report obviously is for testing purposes. Down below, you will find a listing of receipts that have not yet been submitted against an expense report. These also include mileage logs. You'll be able to identify the mileage logs by expense category. Again, you have an option to be able to view the receipts that are in place and that have yet to be submitted. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and apply a mileage log to the expense report up above. I will select from the list here. We're going to go ahead and select number 333 mileage log and submit. Now, as you can see here, mileage log number 333 has disappeared from the list of available expense receipts. However, we don't see that mileage log up above. In order to see that, click Refresh. And you can see where the mileage log has now been entered. I would like to go ahead and submit this as a final expense report. In order to do so, I need to go ahead and choose who my approver is. I'm going to select Martin Dickman. There he is. And click OK. Now Martin has been added into as the approver. We now see that Submit for Approval is now open and available for us to use. It's asking us to confirm this. We are submitting an expense report for $627.14. We can go back if we'd like to add a few additional items, or we can confirm the submission. And as you see, the form up above has now disappeared. If you have an expense report, or if you do not currently have a pending expense report, Again, you can go to the Receipt Claim Center, click on Creating an Expense Report for Reimbursement. It brings you to the same screen here. Click this button. If your screen comes up like this, simply click the refresh button, and then it will bring up an empty expense report for you to begin filling out. Again, you can select a receipt, we'll select receipt number 61, and click Submit. Now 61 is no longer listed in here. However, it is part of your expense report. In order to see it in your expense report, you just need to simply click the refresh button here. And there's receipt 61 now inside your expense report. You have other things to do at this point in time. You can save it as pending. It has now been saved, and you can simply close out on the tab. And that completes the process of submitting an expense report for reimbursement.